We had a day off yesterday, then a heavy practice today, and we'll be heavy the next 2 or 3 days, and then another day off. And then we start to get into somewhat of a tapered down schedule with the guys. They're working really hard. I'm enjoying the coaching. Not really anything to say up front different than what it was last time. Guys are still competing and working hard.
Have you guys had a scrimmage this fall, and if so, what did you learn from your team from it?
Well, we had about 110 play scrimmage, and guys played hard. We got some quality contact, and fortunately we stayed healthy. That's always the issue. You worry about that, but we turned them loose and let them play, and we got some really good work.
When was that?
Sunday.
What have you seen out of Drew Brown these last couple of weeks?
He continues to get better through reps. They get each one of those guys get a little better every day. They get really good grades in technique and assignment and effort, and they just continue to get a little better every day.
At what point in that whole process does the concern of splitting reps and not being able to really focus on one guy start to become?
It started last spring, and it doesn't go away for me. But my and Sean's opinion hadn't changed. If you clearly have a player that's better than the other, you play him. If not, you have to play both guys. History tells you that you're going to end up playing both of them anyway. I think it's 1 out of the last 7 years that we played one quarterback the entire year. That was last year, maybe. Well, Mason made it through his last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it's 2 of 7 years. Mason played with a broken rib one game and something else. But for the most part, you're probably going to need both of them at some point.
Teams really don't anymore use 2 quarterbacks by design, unless it's a short yardage situation like the JW. Why do you think that fell out of fashion? And why don't teams do it anymore? It used to be fairly common.
Reps, just like what Scott brought up. You just don't have enough reps to go around. We don't practice as many plays as we used to because these guys are such finely tuned athletes and they play so fast all the time. For us anyway, it's limited. The only time we've ever done it is if we were using a short yardage guy, with the exception of Chelf and JW that one year because we didn't have a clue who would be the best player.
Can you characterize anything you saw out of them that stood out in the scrimmage from the 2 guys? Or was it...
They're really both getting better. I mean, they really are. They're understanding the offense. They're making plays. Everybody knows, for me, you have to take care of the football, and you have to be able to distribute it and run our offense in a very up-tempo style. And both of them are getting a little bit better every day.
I know you've been excited about Coach Dickey, his influence on the offensive line. I know you're excited about your running backs. Is the running game still progressing and looking like it might be what you want it to be?
We're doing a good job running the ball. I like Coach. I like his. We hit a gold mine with him in the transition, being as smooth as it is, and with him adapting to our culture here. Coaching at Oklahoma State's a little different than other places, and so sometimes the adjustments maybe not as easy as what other people think or what people do think, and so Coach has been a real smooth transition for our team.
How did the defensive line hold up? How are they holding up?
We're doing good. We're playing 6 to 7 guys. They're all rotating in. I couldn't even tell you who was. There's not enough difference to say one guy's getting more reps than the other.
How's the battle look behind Cuba at running back?
Well, we have LD that's playing, and we have Jeter. And Jeter got a little bit of an ankle. He'll be out a day or 2. He'll be fine. And then Dez Jackson will be back first of next week, full speed. And then we just have freshmen behind those guys.
How much does it help Dez, even though he hadn't been able to go full? He's out there in full pads and he runs through everything and he gets to run through the plays.
Not sure. The issue you have with a running back is not taking hits. He's not taking any hits, so he has to be able to hold on to the ball. I think the mental aspect of his development is good, but he hadn't been hit because of that little hairline stress fracture he had. So that's the only thing we don't know.
In years past, you've wanted a freshman running back kind of at that number 3. With how deep you have it right now, do you still see that being a possibility?
Maybe not this year. We are pretty fortunate. We've been fortunate the last several years with depth at that position, so we might not have to play a freshman.
You talked about the disadvantages of why teams don't play 2 quarterbacks, but you clearly could be doing that early in the year. Is there an advantage to it? I mean, does it keep the opponents off balance?
If it's not a short yardage time,
right.
Nah, I don't think so.
You know,
These two guys are kind of the same. So if you had 2 guys and one was like Mason Rudolph and then one was a runner,
JW.
yeah, then it's a little different game plan wise. Like if he comes in, you got to be ready for this. If he's in, you don't have to be ready for this, but you kind of have to be ready for that. So I don't really think it's much of an advantage in my opinion. That defensive coaches may tell you different, but to me, I don't think it's a big advantage.
It's Jim Knowles' second year here. What are some of the things that you've seen him do different coaching-wise compared to his first year?
We're running the same schemes. I mean, we haven't changed anything. I think he's just he has a better feel for and I'm becoming repetitive here, but the play callers in this league's desire to score every play, not every possession. They try to score every play, and tell guys that, but they don't get it till they get here. So I think he understands that and probably has a better feel for it. But our schemes weren't the issue last year. It was just our accountability and the discipline and managing the teams that we were playing. So hopefully we're better at that this time.
With having two quarterbacks battling with one another, how have your wideouts been able to grow, getting passes from 2 different QBs at the same time?
They're doing good. I don't really think that's much of a factor either. You could probably ask them after a rep if they knew who threw that, and they probably wouldn't. They probably wouldn't even know who threw the ball because they're so tied into what their responsibility is and who they're trying to defeat in coverage, man, or zone, and trying to get open and then make a play. I don't think it really factors in much.
Coach Gundy, what kind of growth have you seen in Mike Scott, and what do you expect his role to be with the team?
Mike's doing better. Mike is maturing. Now his body's changed completely, as you guys can tell by looking at him. But Mike had a little blonde in him, and he's starting to get some of that out of him and get a little more serious about football. And I had a scout ask me the other day what kind of year that I thought he would have, and I said he may end up with 4 tackles and 1 sack, or he might have 8 sacks and 60 tackles. I'm not sure what he'll do right now. So he was scouting for the youth league over there in east side of Tulsa. No, it's a joke. I was just joking.
With Trayson Wallace no longer on our team, what are some of the things that you've seen him do off the field, maybe to help younger players?
Trayson?
Yeah.
Well, Coach Dunn's guys have to coach the younger guys. Every guy that comes through here, once you've been here 2 years, you're responsible for coaching the guys at your position, and that's what he's doing now. Tylen, you talking about Trayson or Tylen? Trayson. He's working with all of them. Yeah, he's student coach. Yeah, and he's doing the same thing our players are, and he wants to get in this business, and so he's helping our guys coach, and he's a great young man and very knowledgeable.
How would you rate your overall talent? Or is that compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
I don't know that there's guys that's interesting this year. You got like Mike Scott and Amon and Harper and how Chuba plays, the guys behind Wallace and Stoner, some of the D linemen. It'd be a lot easier to tell in about 6 weeks, but our overall talent from top to bottom in the program is just as good as it always has been. We're just in a little run this year where most of them are a little younger than the others. So, for example, I think at this time next year or the next year we'll be really excited about our defensive line because all of them are back for 2 or 3 years. Right now they're young. That's probably the best illustration I can give you. Same thing at quarterback. I mean, we got inexperienced guys, and I think they're both good players, but we don't know.
The reason I ask, I'm making a list of your top 150 players ever. Of course, it's a crazy subjective list, but when I went and did it, you had a whole bunch of guys on that list. They're easy picks in the 08, 09, 10, 11, 12 there. Blackman, Whedon, not just those guys, but a whole bunch of guys that played with them. And my question is, have you been able to sustain that kind of talent in the succeeding years?
You know what? Sometimes I wondered the same thing, but I looked the other day. They handed me the NFL roster update on what guys did. We had 27 guys that are actively in the NFL now, and that's a bunch of guys. And so I didn't realize that. Somebody would have said, "Hey, how many guys think you got in the NFL?" I'd have said 15. But maybe 4 or 5 of those guys get cut now. But we could very well have over 20 guys playing in the NFL this year. That's a pretty good number for Oklahoma State. In fact, that would be a good study for somebody to do, is to look and see what's the most active players we had in the NFL ever at this university. And I don't know that it'll be over 20. Maybe it will. I don't know. Some of you guys might know. I don't keep up with that. I just keep up with the players. So when I looked at that, I thought, there's quite a few guys that could actually make NFL rosters, and that means that we're doing okay.
I'll do it this week.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be a good study.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, just look and see, and how many. There's 2 ways to do it now. For us, if you're on an active roster, and then if you're a practice player, they make good money, and they're right there. That means you could get activated instantly. Like we had a couple guys last year that did that. So if you get to that point, you're making pretty good money. You're right there on the cusp, and if you're active. And I would say that right now could be the highest number that we've had in a long time around here.
Of course, it doesn't matter if they're active. Anybody that's on the practice squad
pretty good.
was a good player for you.
Pretty
So
good player.
you
That's
don't
exactly
take those
right.
guys anytime.
Yeah, but if you're going to do and being fair and counting the numbers, they probably got to say these guys are active, and that way it's a fair number from where you're at. But anybody that gets to the last cut or is even on a practice squad, they're pretty dang good player.
On the O-line, between Dylan Galloway and Bryce, has there been one of them who stood out more to you, or how do you expect that to look like?
Galloway and who?
Bryce.
Oh, Bray?
Yes.
Yeah, both of them are doing good. Galloway's a little further ahead because he played in a lot of big games. He was an interesting player last year because when he got in and played, somebody got hurt. When he got in and played, he played better than he had always practiced, which was a good thing. And then he missed the spring, and he's back out there now, and he seems to be doing good. And then so is Bray. He's also coming along. Not as far along because he didn't play in games last year, but he's going to be a player here eventually. He's probably going to start for 3 years.
So do you expect Dylan to have that starting spot going into this season?
Who do I expect it? Between those two? Gosh, I don't know. You'd have to ask Coach Dickey that. I don't want to get ahead of the cart there on that one.